Hello, I'm Jeremy Taylor, and welcome to Wednesday Night Undressed, the podcast that reaches into the wobbly places other podcasts dare adventure. Filmed in front of our naked panel, it's a thrilling threnody, a rumbustical debate where the answers are always clear, simple and straightforward. That is, insofar as they can be determined and demonstrated to be without any epistemological problems. Our team today consists of Ivo.
Yes.
Yes, Ivo. Ivo is hoping to go to Bulgaria soon.
Yeah.
But he's not going to, but no one's told him that yet. Chris is with us. Okay.
Salutations.
Kathleen's with us. Fernando is with us.
Hello.
And of course Lewis is with us.
Yo.
And we may pick up other people as we go. And that's the beginning of round one. Yes, so you have been, here's the first thing, you've been kidnapped by aliens. They do the normal alien stuff to you. I introduce you to their language, teach you a new game of cards, give you a cure for your back pain and have sex with you. Would you tell anyone? I didn't, but I just wonder what it is.
You just did.
I think you just told our listener.
Shit, yes, I
Is
did.
that what the anal probing is all about?
It's so much fun. And they've got it off, you know.
If that's what you're into.
So I guess maybe the first question would be, do we all just take it as a given that aliens are a thing?
Somewhere.
Aliens are a thing, yes. Whether or not they've been to this planet, that's another story.
Like, you don't even put up an argument. You just say, we've definitely got aliens.
On this planet or in the universe?
In the universe.
In the universe, yes, there are aliens. There's got to be life on somewhere else.
There's zero chance that life hasn't developed into intelligence somewhere in this infinite universe.
You're discounting us, right, when you say intelligent?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
We're intelligent. We're just not very wise. And for me, the reason why we have probably seen a lot more aliens zipping around the universe is most of us don't make it past the great filters.
The great filters?
Well, one is we're really stupid about fighting diseases and, something wipes us out. Or even worse, we wipe our own selves out. Or we don't develop the technology fast enough to deal with some, catastrophic asteroid smashing into the planet. That kind of stuff.
But I'm missing the connection as to why that means we haven't seen the aliens yet.
Well, it explains, that some species that develops faster than light travel or somehow figures out how to connect a wormhole near where we are, et cetera, comes zipping around saying, hey, how you guys doing?
Uh-huh.
Would you like to join us in our, space federation?
Yeah,
as it were.
To know not to ask us because we're too stupid, they'd have had to be around checking us out.
No, they'd uplift us like, some science fiction stories about uplifting, like we uplift the great apes or help uplift the dolphins.
So when they teach us this new card game, it's actually just a test of whether we can play Snap as well as they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they see us as, we have great potential and they, kind of take pity on us and help us out.
So in the era,
humans lately?
so in the era where we have people that literally think the world is flat and that birds don't exist, would you be, if you had contact, would you be willing to stand up and say, I've had a close encounter of the third kind?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that I'd probably try to bring back some actual evidence that I was touched and met a actual extraterrestrial or even better extra-dimensional beings.
Interesting. Eva, what do you think?
I will correct you. Birds do exist, but they were obliterated by Jewish lasers.
Was that in the Peachtree dish?
Yeah. I don't know. Aliens. would you would you tell if you had an encounter with an alien, or would you kind of try to absorb all the knowledge and use it for yourself? Is that really the question?
I
It's
think
part
that's
of it.
ultimately the
And,
question. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching a spectacular television series on Showtime called "The Man Who Fell to Earth."
Yes,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fantastic.
You've been watching it too?
I've only seen like the first 2 episodes, maybe.
It gets better and better.
Yeah.
It's really spectacular. It's based on a old David Bowie movie, movie that David Bowie was in that was really famous actually in the 1970s, and it's spectacular. Chiwetel Ejiofor is doing an amazing job, and he'll be winning awards. It's just absolutely mind-boggling the way he's acting in this one. And it is kind of about that. It is about an alien arriving to Earth and encountering very obvious problems that our global society should be dealing with, but is not. I often think, Jeremy, when you ask this question, I often think about this, like, what happens if a spaceship lands in your backyard and you are the first human to encounter the alien? First of all,
in Jeremy's case, it'd be Jeremy's butler.
well, yeah, of course.
And I'll make sure
But-
my camera's in focus.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the one thing that I always thought about is the way you greet that alien. It wouldn't be welcome to the United States, or welcome to Kenya, or welcome to Earth, right? So this is like something that we forget, that we are really Earthlings. That we're global citizens of a small speck floating in the cosmos, and we are so hell-bent on just dividing ourselves in artificial pieces of land and just looking for differences, whereas we really are one humanity. And when an alien comes, that's like, I always thought about that. I mean, that's the most obvious thing that is an immediate unifier. Like, welcome to Earth, welcome to Earth. And then the second thing that the alien probably will encounter when they arrive here would be our incredible stupidity. Because if you think about all the ridiculous things that we've invented and how weird they would look to somebody that's not familiar with our ways of living. For example, money. Money really doesn't make sense if you think about it. It's just our system of exchanging, compiling wealth, exchanging goods. It's just, for an alien, these like pieces of digits or pieces of green paper would make so very little sense. And for us, it would take maybe a cosmic perspective, maybe moving away a little bit from our society to recognize and realize how ridiculously stupid everything is. Not everything, but a lot of our ways are really, really dumb.
Like the Floby.
I used to have long conversations with a guy when I was at boarding school, and he was Jewish. And we used to have this long conversation about what happens if Jesus comes back. And part of the conversation, is interesting you should say, was always about, so we're 14, 15, 16, having this conversation. Was
So
how do
mental
we-
giants is
yeah,
what you're saying.
How do we know it's Jesus? Right. Leaving aside the religious, how do we know it's Jesus? He says, I'm Jesus. Okay, cool. How do we know it's not Eddie Izzard? It's I'm Jesus. Okay, well, can you turn some fish into
More
wine or
fish.
something, or do something
It
like
was
that?
water in the wine, but yeah.
Whatever.
Cure the leopards.
Yeah.
Can we cure leprosy or
Yeah.
or something? And he'd go, why? I'm Jesus. Okay, you're a spaceman. No, I'm Jesus. What people forget is that for a spaceman, to land his spacecraft in my backyard, he has to be or she or it has to be so far in advance of anything we have any concept of.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not about take me to your leader.
Yeah.
You know-
It would be, why the hell do you have a leader?
Why are you
yeah.
doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
And are you edible?
No, they wouldn't, because they would be, like Jeremy said, it would be so far advanced. Even travel would be something completely different. Maybe it would be just a little bit of energy traveling instead of an actual organic being, you know. But they, like I said, they would be so puzzled and discombobulated by so many things, like you know, the TikTok or Marjorie Taylor Greene or cricket, you know, things that make no sense.
I bet
You know.
their rockets don't run on, you know, diesel.
That would be amazing.
There was
We come to Earth for diesel. Give me your diesel.
there was a I forgot, what was it called? Star Trek. There was a Star Trek. I guess maybe it was a movie, a Star Trek movie, where they're hovering around off Earth, and they don't have permission to land on Earth. But they are having conversations with whales, and it's sort of like, well, how do we fix this? And I have had thoughts about this, and that is
Did you say whales or whales?
whales.
Whales.
Okay.
Yeah, not
The big mammals
I
in
was
the
wondering
ocean.
why whales.
Not the country. It occurs to me that if an alien does land, then he, she, or it is doing so without permission. That's what I'm thinking. That they may be a rogue alien who has decided
I am
that
amazed at the level of compassion that we have to this alien. The question was, like, would you tell? And I've heard about, like, the perspective of the alien, but what I'm actually really curious about is, like, would you share the information? Like, that's like especially in light of what we've got going on in our society today, where we have like this absolute aberrance of fact and science and reality. Like, if you are faced with something that is outside of this world, like in today's climate, do you speak up?
No, I would report that anal probing motherfucker to ICE. It's probably illegal.
well, okay. Here's a question then, Fernando.
Well,
Remember us?
what?
Hello.
Yeah. Well.
So you have an alien appears and convinces you that this isn't a bad dream, that it is for real,
Okay.
and everything else, and says, look, the reason I've come to see you guys is because you lot are fucking your lives up, you're going to blow the country apart, you've got to do something, and I just happen to have landed here and you're the first human I've come across. I need to talk to somebody. Who'd you talk to?
Well, first, like I would say, you know, if you land this, like, don't block the garage and don't mess with my lawn. And second, I mean, I
you have a
definitely.
way of cutting the grass.
No, I don't care about that. That was. I don't even have. I have a very small piece
He's
of
just
grass.
worried about his garage.
Yeah, I don't even have a garage.
Oh.
It's pretty pathetic. But I don't know. I don't think I would share. But I just would be curious. Like, say, damn, what a waste of time! You travel all this far to see this.
Do some anal probing.
Is this really the end? The
And
end
he-
of the
and
world?
he
You come
says,
and
well-
have a beer, and then you can
Yeah.
go home happy.
And he says, well, actually, it's not a big problem because it only takes us 10 minutes of your time to get here.
What's
Well.
really puzzling is all these aliens travel across space and quite possibly time through a Rosen-Einstein wormhole, and then they probably are looking for a new energy source. It's always the case, right?
Gotta be.
You know, it's always about colonization and about looking for resources. Why do they think they'll find it in people's asses? That's the
Yeah,
number.
who come up with that?
I've heard the theory on that one is that the anal probing and the big bug-eyed aliens goes back to very early childhood when your eyes aren't as focused. And so that actually the adults that you see, your parents, kind of look like big
Aliens.
bug-eyed
Yeah.
because you're concentrating on the face and the eyes are so expressive. And a lot of what happens when you interact with these is that they are wiping your butt because you are...
Or sticking a thermometer
But
up
the-
your butt.
I want to
There
go
you
back to what I think in terms of the aliens would do if they actually did encounter us. Because for me, the only way us or any other species is going to get off of their planet is if they reach the point where they feel that everyone on their planet is exactly the same as they are, and they reach that point of we are all one. We are a universal thing.
Yeah,
In our
entity.
case, it's humanity.
Yeah.
And they are going to explore the stars to find others to bring into this, for lack of a better word, federation. The idea that they come here for water or energy or resources is actually a very human projection of what aliens would be after, because that's what we as human beings are always after.
Yeah.
If we finally get to the point where we say that it doesn't matter if you're from the USA or from Russia or from Ukraine or from China, that we are all human beings,
Yeah.
we are all one. Let us work so that we can get off this planet so that the human species survives, because in 2 to 4 billion years the sun is going to get so big that it engulfs the earth.
Yeah.
And if we're not off this planet, humanity ceases to exist.
Yeah.
And so I think that the idea that an alien species coming here is going to be like Star Trek. They're going to have a, what do they call it? The prime directive of non-interference until they kind of feel that that culture is ready for introduction to this other greater thing.
In other words,
Completely
until we're
disagree.
civilized.
Yeah, our perspective will always pollute this scenario, the actuality of the scenario. So, like Stephen Hawking, for example, speculated that we shouldn't try to reach other civilizations, because he based it on the assumption that always the more advanced civilization is the one that is capable of exploration. And the more advanced civilization always consumes the less advanced civilization. So he said, let's be quiet and not poke the tiger, So that was his speculation. Are you familiar with the Fermi paradox?
Yeah.
So it sounds like Fermi paradox sounds like something cool and mathematical, but it's actually just common sense. And
Explain it.
he came up with it in a cafeteria, Enrico Fermi, where he just said, just when you consider the vastness of space and all the available solar systems and star systems and planets and potential existence of life in the universe, by now, after 14 billion years of the existence of the universe, by now there is no way that we wouldn't be contacted by an alien life form.
Unless, of course, that alien life form
Yeah.
thinks of us rather like we think of ants.
True.
Which is
And that
which is
would-
what we would
yeah.
appear to be to someone who actually, like a level 2 society that actually travel around its and control basically all of the energy coming from its sun. We would basically be like ants. I mean, well, not necessarily ants. They would probably see us more like the bonobos in a sense that, they're almost there. They've got these little elements of they're nice to each other and, they cooperate on some things, but they've got these other bad things that they do, and they need a little bit of help to, evolve a little bit more so that they can be more like us.
There's gotta
Finish
be
it, what you were
enough-
saying about the Fermi paradox.
So the paradox is basically we should have been contacted by now, but we are not. Hence the paradox. We
doesn't
should
know
have
we're
been,
not.
but we are not. Well,
doesn't
there's
know
no
that we are not.
no concrete evidence other than the anal probing. There's no concrete evidence. So he
There is no
so,
other explanation for certain people in public life.
No, see, now you're like, all of a sudden we have literally
Black.
well, not just Men in Black, but like the whole lizard people thing. Like, like, so here, but this is ultimately like the
Mitch McConnell.
The
How do you explain that?
You can
So
just
he's the
look at
turtle
him
people.
and realize.
no, this is like the paralyzing part of this question. Like, it is paradoxical that we don't have evidence.
Yeah.
So, if you were abducted, meaning alien didn't land, alien sucked you up, and just gave you information, and then you were put back on the planet, like, what would you do? Like, and with that shape, how you think about things like lizard people as potential, like, running the government. Like, does it all of a sudden become possible because you've had touch with extraterrestrial
I'd definitely
life?
share the information because they'd probably give me information that would allow me to do things that previously were not possible.
I think if you seriously shared the information that you had been abducted and you really believed in this stuff, you would not have a whole lot of freedom left.
Yeah, you if you started doing things, so for instance you had an extra sense because they showed you how to use another sense, mind reading or something like that, I don't know. The CIA or the FBI or the Spetsnaz or whoever it would happen to be would be on you so fast your feet wouldn't touch.
Well, if I'm mind reading, I'd be able to stay several steps ahead of them
Well,
because
true.
I'd be able to see what was
But
happening.
my point being,
But
is-
I'd have extra information and extra abilities that would, basically keep me safe.
No.
Why not?
Really? They
If I
gave
had-
you more than just information? They gave you superpowers too?
No, I'm not saying superpowers, but if they give me information that allows me, that allows me to build machines, that allow me to read people's minds, so that I always have an indication of someone say I can't read their minds, but I can at least get a sense of that person has evil intent. He's not, he's not paying attention to me. She's not paying attention to me.
You're
Yeah.
getting pretty damn
If-
specific for
Yeah.
these.
You know, I know if you try to.
I've read a
Didn't
lot of
wonder
science
where
fiction.
He was last weekend.
I want to
Yeah.
read Marjorie Taylor Greene's mind. It will be like a coloring book.
That
Reading
would-
a coloring
It
book.
would be
You'd have to find it
fascinating.
first.
Absolutely fascinating.
I have a question. Chris, how do you feel about the recent revelations about the space, the so-called UFOs that seem to be? There's so many recordings now that have been publicized that seem to be concrete and seem to not be propulsive type engines. Seem to be relying on manipulating gravity or gravitons, or I don't know what it is.
So far, I haven't seen any conclusive evidence. Most of the stuff that I've seen continues to be very blurry video. One of the most recent ones I remember,
The San Diego.
there was one. It's an image that it seems to be moving faster than, but the
Yeah.
one guy has explained it is basically lens flare on the motion, because if you look at
It's black.
well, no, this one has.
image.
I wish I could remember which one it is, but you can. He presents his analysis of it in the video is pretty convincing as to this is basically just an artifact of the way in which the gimbal that controls the camera that looks at the object, that it was probably looking at some object. It was an object that was very far away. They're probably thinking that it was probably just something that they can't identify. But when you look at the image that is recorded, you can see that the flare, what people look at the rotation, tracks almost perfectly with the way in which the gimbal of this camera has to move, because
I see what you're
because the
saying.
camera watches it go, and then there's a moment where it just suddenly flips really quick because the gimbal on this camera reaches its stopping point and has to totally return, basically rotate 180 degrees in order to continue following it, because it reaches a hard stop in the mechanics of the camera itself.
Okay, so you've really researched this topic.
As
You've gotten really deep into this evidence, so-called evidence.
Not all of it, because there's probably a metric crap ton that I've never looked into, but I've been following this kind of stuff since I was a little kid, because I've been fascinated with aliens. I mean, I've been a Star Trek, Star Wars, science fiction geek for years, and to my mind, no one's come to us because true faster than light travel isn't possible because of the infinite inertia. I mean, infinite energy required to overcome the infinite inertia just to even get to like half the speed of light. You know, the wormhole is theoretically possible, but again, the energy required to do it, even to create one end, is incredible. But how do you know where that other end opens up? You can't go somewhere to open up another end to then have this wormhole. I mean, folding space is a wonderful idea, but how the heck do you fold space?
But the thing is, you are all going to be able to mock me now, okay?
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Are you ready?
Get ready.
There was a couple of British bombers flying back from a raid during the war. The guys flying these bombers are tired, very sensible people.
You just said they were British.
Yes, they're tired, and they realised that they were being monitored by some other craft that was considerably faster by many, many times, not just faster, but many, many times than their bombers were. And they followed, they kept pace, they went round and round, then they went off and had another look at another bomber, and then just disappeared. The pilots talked about this when they got to the briefing, and one of the pilots took a camera with him just in case, and nothing happened. And they were on one of the last tours, and it happened again. And he took some pictures. The debriefers, they told the debriefers about it. It was passed all the way on up the line, and Churchill.
Here we go.
This is Dr.
Oh, that's
I
that's the
knew
hook.
it was coming.
He gotta be Churchill. He
Churchill
gotta be
said
involved with this.
that
I knew it.
they weren't quite ready for this yet. And my thought is that we don't know half of the stuff that goes on. You know, the idea, for instance, of the Americans nuking Moscow in 1945. You know, come on, don't be sick.
It's Churchill.
But they were. They had an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean ready to go and nuke Moscow. Because they knew perfectly well, Roosevelt knew that he had to the only way they were going to move forward was to get rid of Stalin.
Right.
And the only way they were going to do that was to nuke him, because dropping a bomb on him wouldn't work. And so what I'm trying to get at is, we don't know.
Oh, I agree.
That's the thing.
I've got no
we don't
proof
know.
one way or the other. I'm completely willing to posit the idea that we already have been visited, and I'm completely willing to accept that we will never be visited.
It's fascinating to me, this new evidence, the craft that's moving it and changing direction at weird angles and speeds that don't make sense and probably would kill anyone that's inside of it because of acceleration and deceleration. It's just so fascinating to me, because I've always felt, just as someone who also loves fiction and science, I always felt that propulsion-based engines are primitive. They're based basically on storing chemical energy, releasing it, creating kinetic moment, and using the Newton's third law, you know, and just moving something because you're producing energy on the other side. And I feel like there's, like, gravity, the weakest energy in the universe, is everywhere. We don't quite understand it. We speculate about gravitons and all that stuff, but it's everywhere. This gravity exists around us. It's about capturing it and manipulating it in a way that will allow you to move without having a propulsion engine and storing nuclear energy, dangerous nuclear energy, trying to travel.
The Victorians knew, Victorian engineers knew, that if they travelled at more than 60 miles an hour, their bodies would implode.
Yes.
I am quoting Isambard Brunel.
Yes, and that's why they drank a lot of tea.
So let me ask you this
To
question.
prevent that from happening.
Let's move on.
Hold on. I wanted to get the Brazilian perspective. Is there a huge contingent of people back home that believe in aliens?
I think it's pretty close. I mean, the hoax and conspiracy theories, and chupacabra, and it's even like even the Brazil had some similar Area 51, not even close in size,
really?
but there is a lot of hoax that the military saw and they hidden something. It's almost like a carbon copy and translation.
Yeah, interesting.
Except instead of Churchill there, we tell that was no. Church is Churchill.
Bolsonaro would
Bolsonaro
kick all the aliens to
He
Argentina.
might be a lizard.
I have to say, I've always been fascinated by stuff where something happened, but you don't know the whys and wherefores. In my case, it's World War II, particularly the end of World War II. And some people may know the whys and wherefores,
But they ain't sharing.
but they're not going to share, and they're going to die. They're just going to die keeping it to themselves.
Yeah.
And I think I do think that's fascinating. We don't know a lot of the things that the Germans were up to right at the very end of the war. Those Germans who came on and worked on the NASA programs and sending the man to the moon and all that sort of thing.
And they were pretty close to a nuke.
They were very close to a nuke.
Yeah.
In fact, we could have another conversation about that.
Could we get this conversation onto sex?
Yes, let's
Sweet.
move on.
Hubba.
So here's the next issue. Which was more awkward? Having your parents talk to you about sex, or talking to your kids about sex? And we will now go to round 2.
All right,
my
Jeremy.
parents didn't talk to me about the birds and the bees. My mother loved talking about sex. She
Really?
loved having. I think she was trying to horrify me. And one of her friends did what was the Mrs.
What did she do?
She tried to
Mrs.
seduce
Robinson?
Mrs. Robinson,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
at one of my parents' parties. So in the 60s, they were much freer, I think. They'd gone through a war, but my mother didn't mind talking about sex as far as her personally.
But sort of explaining the mechanics to you was not
never happened.
Yeah.
Never happened. And I think she was possibly far more advanced than my father was.
To be just completely blunt, I would think that that's usually the case.
What, mothers are more...
Yeah.
Kathleen?
Right. I don't remember ever having a talk about sex with either of my parents. I have no idea how I learned about stuff. Can't remember that far back. It's like 130 years ago. I don't think I actually had the talk with either of my kids either, because they had fairly
I
good
did.
sex education, and Jeremy took care of it with my son,
Gotcha.
who said that his father had clued him in fully by telling him that safe sex means you don't get her pregnant, which is why I'm divorced.
You mean there's more? So was it awkward having the conversation?
I just got the boys in the sitting room and said what I thought was important that they should know. That everything should be consensual, and it's about having fun and pleasing your partner and that sort of thing. And if she says
You're
no,
interested in what the other person says?
yeah.
Wow.
But that's just I think that's me. I think a lot of guys, they're not terribly interested. Whip it in, whip it out, wipe it. That's the end of it.
Oh God.
Wait a minute.
What did you expect me
Wipe
to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get that
Writing
one.
that down.
Now, there is, of course, the issue of staff. So this is having sex with friends. I mean, one has staff. and
Friends
that,
with benefits.
Staff with
That's
benefits.
certain.
Staff with benefits.
Butlers
That's my new
with
porn
benefits.
name.
The staff, the employees, the slaves. You know.
Well, it came out a little bit with Gosford
The subjects.
Park, you know, in Gosford Park.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, your staff, it puts the butt in
They're
butler.
naughty.
I'm sure.
it does, yeah. Butling.
Maids are
What is
made.
the-
Evo, did you have the conversation with your folks, and then
Yeah.
B, did you have the conversation with your kids?
You know, famously, East Europeans are very, maybe too open-minded about that stuff. You know, we didn't even have the internet, but
So no
that
porn?
information.
Oh, no, there was porn.
There was
Yeah.
porn,
Oh, yeah.
old-fashioned, but
Harder to
that
find.
kind of information was like. I don't remember where I first found. I remember when my mom found out I have a girlfriend for the first time. I mysteriously found like a pack of condoms in my bag, in my school bag.
Classic.
Yeah, and I think and she made sure I always have a supply. You know, the conversations I had were brief because that information was so readily available on the street, and it was a very open-minded society when it comes to sex. So it wasn't something that necessarily was expected from the parents to do or the teachers. When my kids grew up, I had very basic conversation, but we have the freaking internet here, you know, and I have a feeling before we had a chance to explain anything to them, they already probably knew everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never been super uncomfortable for me to talk to my parents about that stuff when I was young. They seem to be relaxed about it, and here with my kids, it didn't feel like it was very necessary.
Fernando, how about yourself?
Well, I mean, like Ivo, if I didn't have figured out on my own and never asked my parents about anything, but there was that, you know, you have a girlfriend.
But you ask other people's parents, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. There is a lot of exchange of information, but I mean, it's so can't compare because I didn't have awkward and with my parents. But I mean, with the kids, there is a lot of conversation. I know that there is a lot of sex ed, but I make sure like they try to, you know, don't be over dramatic and make sure, you know, when they're in a relation, make sure to do not start to have like a toxic a relation, you know, the first girlfriend, like sometimes just silly things that become that mind torture. Say, you know, if you don't do this, like there is a lot of pressure on their minds, and it's even worse because when I have like my first experience, you know, and things were slow back in the day. Now with these damn smartphones, the kids, they literally freaking, even they don't see themselves sometimes 2 weeks without see face to face, they're talking non-stop all day. The stuff can be over dramatic and can be like a very torturing. So I make sure, say, you gotta have a balance. You need to make sure, you know, you need to create your boundaries to each one. Make sure don't overstep and have like a health relation. And
I
try
suspect that if you tried to have that conversation with Sophia, when you got up off the ground, your
No, well, they roll. When I put some details, they kind of roll their eyes. But you need to keep checking because I mean, sometimes they feel they're like overwhelmed with something. You gotta try because they're not very wide open. You know, some conversation you gotta keep kind of pulling the trigger slightly.
There's great educational
So-
materials. There was this documentary where the instructor was a pizza delivery guy.
Oh!
And also the other instructor was a housewife. It was
And the
really
housewife didn't have any
educational.
money to pay.
Or clothes.
Apparently, Joe Biden's son was into sex education and made
Yes,
videos.
he's a good instructor.
What I remember
Made
seeing
videos.
involved a plumber. He seemed to know a little bit more than the pizza guy, but
Plumbers
It's like
are good.
call-
Some
Cawthorn.
people,
They understand cracks.
Some people. Oh, I know. I was just going to ask Lewis. I shudder to think. Down in the backwoods of St. Louis,
So
Back in the
my
50s.
mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and so the sex talk that we had was basically, don't do it.
Zero.
Well, don't do it.
Donuts?
Just
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Oh,
And
don't,
so-
don't do it.
Don't do
Don't
it.
even think about
Well,
it.
she never
Yeah.
did.
Oh,
Still haven't
obviously.
figured out where you came from.
Obviously, or my
He's an
5
alien.
siblings, yeah.
It's an anti-Nike.
And so it was kind of all just kind of like explore and discover and research, and like that was like, I mean, the encyclopedia was helpful. Like it's got those little illustrated pages of human anatomy. Yeah, that stuff is useful. So like my parents, I never had that conversation with my parents, or if I had a conversation that's been anything like it, it has always been very like taboo. Like this is a subject that we don't realize with my parents, and so I have always tried to take a much more relaxed attitude with my kids. And so as young kids, it was just sort of like they would ask the questions about like, you know, why is a vagina different from a penis? And, you know, well, they kind of fit together, and that's how babies are made. And, you know, you just kind of answer.
Howdy, howdy.
Yeah. You just kind of answer the questions.
Whip it in, whip it out, wipe it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
In the way that a child would need to have that question answered. It's the way that I think about it. But it recently dawned on me that I, like, haven't had a down and dirty, like, discussion with my younger kid, my son, on like the actual mechanics of how everything works. And so he's of the age where we've got to have that conversation. So it's coming.
Yeah, but do you really want to have like the mechanics,
I
or
want
should
him
it be
to
more?
understand things like, how do you put a condom on? Like,
Why?
Well, that's
yeah, I mean, there are certain like
I can
mechanical
understand.
aspects to, like, put it this way, we talk all the time, incessantly, to the point of probably other people not believing how much, like, conversations in our house revolve around, like, respecting the rights and boundaries of other people, respecting people as themselves. Like, that part of, like, the sexual relationship, I'm not worried about at all with my kids. But there's
The mechanics.
a part that is traditionally, societally thrust upon the guy to be the sexual conqueror, that you're supposed to have some mechanical knowledge, I guess is the best way to
yeah,
say it.
the stereotype of the the man knows what needs to be done, and the
Yeah.
girl is the virgin.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not all for that, but I know how awkward it was for me the first time, like, I was alone with a girl, and if I can help him, like, not have to navigate that, if I can help my daughter not have to navigate that,
It's the
like,
screaming, wasn't it?
it was the crying. She was constantly wiping my eyes, and it was really bad.
There are important lessons to be taught. If you're ever in a threesome situation, to act cool, not to get
Not to, like, drool.
like
Yeah.
you haven't been there before.
Exactly.
It's very
Exactly.
important.
As long as I think the most important thing is it's consensual. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
that's. I was worried about one of the kids who had been brought up, perhaps that consensual.
I want
No
to,
means yes.
yeah, good point. I want to ask you: are you consensually wearing these glasses back upside down?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move on to another issue. Some people have words they hate. Do you, panel, have numbers you hate or love? For instance, how do you feel about 737? I don't like odd numbers. I like Thursdays.
Huh?
Thursday's
Okay.
not a number.
I know. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I have weird things that I like and I don't like, and I don't like odd numbers. Never have done.
Really? That's interesting, because I think I might be the opposite. I think I might prefer odd numbers, and I think I might look for primes.
You have days that you don't, guys. Thursday's my favourite day. Tuesday, as far as I'm concerned, has always been a waste of space.
Why I'm sorry, I never like to ask people why something is their favorite. Do you have a rationale for why you like Thursday?
Thursdays.
Uh-huh.
Yes, because it's nearly the end of the week.
Ah, I see.
Like, Tuesdays. I mean, I started a lunch club 40 years ago, back in England, and it was called the Mr. Pickwick Club, and it's still going. And we had it on the second or third Tuesday of the month because it was a completely freaking useless day. Nothing happens on Tuesdays. Nobody starts a war on a Tuesday.
Really?
No, you just don't. I mean, when you go to, school to become a despot.
Do you know that Tuesday is
Tuesdays,
Odin's day, right?
is it?
Yeah, it is the god of war's day.
Yeah, but they don't start.
I didn't know that one either. Thursday was Thor's day, and Tuesday's Odin's day?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably a good idea to start a war on Tuesday because nobody would expect it then.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
Eva,
it'll be-
what about
Nobody
you and
expects the
numbers?
Spanish Inquisition.
I am fine with every number except I do this exercise where you lay on your back and you draw numbers in the air with your toes. So
Toes?
you go completely straight. You lay down like a board on the ground, and then you lift your legs.
This is because he was brought up in a communist country.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And you draw numbers with you're drawing imaginary numbers with straight knees in the air, drawing 1, 2, 3 in the air, and
Tummy muscles.
exactly every single core muscle gets engaged,
So
and
which
it's
are the worst numbers to draw?
number 8 is the worst.
Really?
Yes, number 8 is a nightmare
Really?
because
Sounds like it
so
would be the easiest.
no, you have to twist your entire torso around and draw this
Okay.
elaborate number 8 number.
How do you draw
And
-8?
well, no, you go forward, and of course it gets worse when you go into the double digits. And number 18 is a nightmare. 28, it's always the number 8.
What about
Well,
the
I get to usually to 50 at the most.
Oh, okay.
Because everything hurts like hell. Your back, your stomach, everything hurts. If I get to 50, it's an amazing accomplishment. Getting to 30 is hard, but
One leg at a time?
but yeah, number 8. Yeah, I call that Jehovah's Fitness. By the way, it's a good gym name.
That is
for
good.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
That is good. That is
Do you ever draw irrational numbers?
Well, that would be, or
Can you
decimal
draw pi?
points, and yeah.
Well, my favorite number is I.
Oh, really?
Square root
That's
of
a good
-1.
one.
Very
That's a good
useful.
one.
So I have a more pointed question for you because you are the panel's resident mathematician. Do you have aesthetic properties to numbers at all?
Oh, I like ones that are the same on both sides. 8 is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. 1's good.
Uh-huh.
A 0.
11.
11's okay. Yeah. It's kind of boring, but it's okay. Yeah.
So
0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I like the shape of certain numbers. Like to me, 5 is a very cool shape for a digit.
Yeah.
And I don't think there are numbers that I dislike except for, and I don't know if this is, again, my religious upbringing, 666s.
Oh,
They look
Jehovah's
sinister.
Fitness. Roman fucking numerals, all of them I hate. I hate all of them fuckers.
like
I don't
Romans.
understand them anymore.
You can't
like
do anything
Super Bowl
with them.
50, what is that?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, listen, the reason I like to watch numbers on the ceiling of the bedroom, actually, because I have we have a clock and it projects
Oh.
the time on the ceiling. And
Fun.
if you wake up in the middle of the night, you look up there and
be an
there's these
alien.
3 digital numbers, and they nearly always look like Santa Claus, sideways. Like 3 is going to look like a couple of eyes, and then there's the dot that looks like his, so 3 is 2 eyebrows, and the
Right.
dot are his eyes underneath, and then you've got a mustache in there with a 1, and something else for a big old beard.
So
They
you
always
wake up
look
at
like
3 in the
Santa
morning
Claus. I don't
every
know
morning.
why, but they do.
You wake up at 3 in the morning every
Yeah, I
morning is what
do.
you're saying.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty
Yeah.
standard, yeah.
I pretty much
Fernando,
love all
do you
numbers.
have any numbers that you like
Yeah.
or don't like?
666.
So
That
you
a
like
or
That's it.
dislike?
Yeah, that's I just like.
You know, they found a fragment in an Egyptian trash pile that suggests that the actual number of the beast is 616.
There was a great moment.
Well, that's good.
Oh, I like 616 too. I forgot about that.
There's a great moment in Get Smart, one of my favorite shows, where Agent 66 walked into the room, and remember the guy that was always hiding? He was the master of disguise.
Yep.
He was hiding and she opened the closet, and the guy, that agent, was hiding in the closet, but he was on a headstand. He was upside down. He said, "Hey, hello, 99."
wow, wow.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah. It would take people a second on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do one last one, and then, have we got sponsors today? Do we know?
Apparently, Susan is not in the country. She has no passport, and she's been running around post offices and going to Chicago to get her passport, and didn't
In
have
other
time.
words, she's got your passport.
Yeah,
right,
didn't
okay.
have time to do it.
Last question then. What is a rule or law that you only take as a suggestion? For example, Lewis has a fleeting relationship with speed limits. I have the same relationship with optional roundabouts.
I see.
And speed tables. I wondered other people.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yes.
definitely one who massages speed limits. I'm learned how to do a rolling stop from my father, and he taught me. I'd definitely cut through roundabouts when I encounter them and there's no traffic.
Well, what about other than traffic? Has anybody here ever defaced an American bill, currency?
Yes,
You evil, horrible person.
yes, I know.
No, that's one I don't really have much problem with.
I've
I'll
also
draw a
partaken of
mustache
illegal
on somebody
substances,
and
so-
say, yeah.
Yeah, I cut the label on my mattress once.
Ooh, yeah.
I removed it. Yeah, I know.
I
it's
think this is an
sacrilege.
exceedingly difficult question to answer. Because I don't think that if it's something that I do, I don't think of it as breaking a rule, if that makes any sense.
So if you do it, it's okay.
It's not that it's okay. I typically don't think about it as a rule being broken. So it's like the defacing of the bill thing that you just
Yeah.
mentioned. Like, I know that it's a law, but I don't think about it if I'm in the process of like drawing little glasses on Benjamin Franklin, because I don't carry $1 bills.
Well, recently we've been doing the mask thing, you know, and it's, as the man says, not so much a rule, more a set of guidelines. You know, is that one that people?
That's one. Yeah, I don't go by the pirates' rules. I consider them just guidelines. Don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't always get a doggy bag when I walk the dog.
I've been there on that one.
I've had skipped every once in a while getting a doggy bag from home. Sorry neighbors.
I'm going to look at you differently from now on, Evo.
I don't.
And isn't it actually illegal to shoot squirrels in your backyard?
Yeah, but really I haven't had any luck shooting them. You're
I
right.
have. I've shot them in your backyard.
Yeah.
That's why I only shoot
Jamie
at them.
did.
I don't actually shoot them.
I
Yeah.
think that's considered the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure we've all broken some kind of rule.
I don't always wear
Written or
hearing
unwritten.
protection when I'm using power tools.
I think the idea of Evo with a double-barrel shotgun
Shooting
strapped
squirrels.
on a swivel
Yeah.
office chair
Oh, yeah.
at squirrels.
I would
Yeah.
like
Like
to
a
see that with
freaking
Evo fully
anti-aircraft
dressed in
gun.
camo.
Shotgun and squirrels, that's kind
fatigues,
of cheating.
Yeah. That's
sniper
kinda
scope. What about you, Fernando?
It's only when you look and you see what who's shooting back. I think that's how the Russians felt about the Ukrainians.
You got any rules that you break, Fernando?
Well,
Yes,
That's
clearly.
not a good thing to put on a record.
Has anybody here ever
It
flipped
can't
off
be used
It's
against
being
you in a court of
recorded,
law.
so if
While
you
driving.
pause, I'll tell you guys.
Uh-huh.
Things I haven't because
I have literally never flipped off anybody while driving. I have blown my horn, but that's usually
Oh.
to alert somebody that they're in the.
I
in
keep
the
my
way.
hand underneath the dash when I flip them off, just so that I don't get.
I
Shot
legitimately never done that.
nowadays.
There's not much point in that.
Two people
Hey,
died.
It gets
2
my
weeks ago
anger
here.
out, and then I'm better.
Okay.
Okay, well, we've done a shorter one, although we seem to have spoken a lot more than we normally do.
I feel like we
The
did.
alien topic kind
The
of
alien really.
took a long time.
Aliens, yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to another Wednesday night Obsessed. Sorry, I meant Undressed. With Kathleen and Evo, and Chris and Fernando, and Lewis and myself, Jeremy Taylor. You can pick these up usually every week, a few days after the podcast, so Thursdays and Fridays, and have a listen, see what you think. And the old ones are all there as well on the Kofifi channels.
Check out the nearest Jehovah's Fitness gym for some Bible curls.
And these are always recorded
Dead Sea
live.
lifts.
Live at
Yes,
Merck's
Dead
Bar,
Sea
so
lifts, yes.
come and join the rest of the crew. And as I say, you've been listening to another Wednesday night Undressed.
No.